now on to domestic policy. You heard this from President Biden, Ultra-MAGA. Well, it's been about a week now, and not only did Ultra-MAGA not work, it's now backfiring on the Biden administration. Here is our favorite likable liberal last week on the program when Mr. Biden first rolled out the term.
If it's a choice between Biden or Ultra-MAGA, I think they got to rework the name. I mean, I think of Michelob Ultra, which is a light beer. Ultra-MAGA, you want to have it like Extreme MAGA or something like that. They got to work it out.
Yeah, well, turns out they spent a lot of time working it out, 6 months to try to come up with the term. The Washington Post reports top Biden aide Anita Dunn and the Center for American Progress spent half a year trying to find the perfect term. They wanted to use President Trump against Republicans without having to say Trump and making it appear worse than MAGA, because a lot of folks sort of thought MAGA was a good thing in their polling. So while it's not working for the president right now, Republicans, though, are having some fun with it. President Trump's Political Action Committee and the NRCC are now selling Ultra-MAGA merchandise to play off the new term. Perhaps they were listening to Chris Hahn when looking at the graphic there in terms of the beer reference. And here is Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik last week.
You're being called Ultra-MAGA. I am Ultra-MAGA. I'm proud of it.
Proud of Ultra-MAGA, kind of like how people used to wear T-shirts that said deplorable. Even still, the White House might view such pronouncements as a success. Ultra-MAGA is very different than MAGA without the crazy. That's what we dubbed Glenn Youngkin, who rode to success in Virginia last year. Batya Ungar-Sargon, deputy opinion editor for Newsweek. Forget the fact that they probably didn't hire the Super Bowl ad makers to come up with Ultra-MAGA. Does dividing everybody and trying to label Trump supporters as this far fringe work?
You know, it's so funny because you have this, think tank of, progressive, overeducated liberals coming up with this slogan that's supposed to counteract what was essentially the grassroots popularity of Trump's message, which was, make America great again. I mean, who could possibly disagree with that? And it's just so ironic to me that now they're trying to find a way to sort of bash Trumpism without Trump. I mean, I thought the problem with Trumpism was the Trump part, right? Trumpism without Trump is basically Bernie Sanders 2015, right? It's economic populism. Isn't that something that the left should be into?
It's interesting. It's also interesting how now that we know that they spent 6 months trying to come up with this term, as soon as it came out, even CNN and other commentators were saying, wait a second, isn't this just like Hillary Clinton's deplorable moment? Jen Psaki on Tuesday, though, almost instantly backed off from it. Take a listen.
I will tell you is the president's phrase, and the president made those comments himself just last week, as you know. And I think what has struck him is how extreme some of the policies and proposals are that a certain wing of the Republican Party that is taking up too much of the Republican Party are for and are advocating for. And so to him, adding a little ultra to it, give it a little extra pop.
How do you square that circle? 6 months of research and focus groups and polling and ad work versus it's the president's phrase.
Right. I mean, the obvious answer would be one need not square a circle when, you can just use the word lie, right? I think to me, though, what this really exposes is the Democrats right now are obsessed with messaging, branding. We're not convincing voters. Instead of about policy, what are your policies? What are you offering them? It's just so surface and symbolic level. They want to win, but to what end? What are you going to give voters if you win? They never tell them. They just look for nasty ways to call their opponents racist or ultra or this or that. And it's just so disappointing.
Republicans, on the other hand, are not necessarily ever always doing themselves favors. Mitt Romney back in 2012. Take a listen.
47% of Americans pay no income tax. My job is not to worry about those people. I'll never convince them that they should take personal responsibility and care for their lives.
And at the same time, Rick Scott, head of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, all Americans should pay some income tax to have skin in the game, even if it's small amount. Currently, over half of Americans pay no income tax. He keeps trying to circle around that, but it's in black and white that he says he stands by his plan. Batya, why do the mainstream of either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party not seem to understand the fundamental needs and reality for the vast majority of Americans and basically want to marginalize them.
It's so disappointing. And what's so interesting is that that point of view from Mitt Romney is exactly the thing that Trumpism emerged to fight back against, to push back against within the Republican Party. You know, stop talking about the downwardly mobile working class as though they're freeloaders, as though they want to be killing themselves with opioid addiction, right? Treat them with respect. Listen to what the working class wants. That was actually the whole point. Jobs, jobs, jobs. That was all Trump really talked about, except when he would throw in his sort of really gross stuff in between. And then, of course, that's all the media focused on. So what you have right now is you have a Republican Party that used to be, right, the Mitt Romney Republican Party that really was totally focused on the rich, totally focused on how to make rich people richer. And now you have a liberal party that's totally focused on the overeducated liberal rich, right? And they want to pay a lot of taxes to support the poor. And nobody who is asking the working class, what do you need? What can we give you?
Real quick, think about how this is going to play then in Pennsylvania. Big Senate primary coming up tomorrow. You've had Dr. Oz, who has his own issues. He is the Trump-endorsed candidate. Kathy Barnett, 24%, within 4 points. She is the complete come from behind, come from nowhere, hadn't been on TV. David McCormick is the multi-billionaire who says he's MAGA-like, but was not endorsed by Trump. Kathy Barnett's surge, is that because of the social issues, or is that because she seems more in touch on the economic issues?
I think that Kathy Barnett is exactly what we're talking about here. It's Trumpism without Trump. She managed to convey to those respondents that she did not need Trump's endorsement in order to say, I am the person who has that grassroots support, that authenticity. I'm from the working class. I know what people need. I'm not going to bring that kind of condescension that you have on both sides, the sneering, the disregard. You know, she has that economic populism coupled with a socially conservative message, which is where the vast majority of working class Americans are at. And that is the power that fueled Trumpism. And I wish her all the success.
It's hard to imagine. The one thing we didn't get to, we'll get to it next time, is that President Trump, after a successful business career making billions of dollars, was then able to translate and become the only person who was champion of the working class. It's remarkable how that happened. Batya, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Leland.
Yeah, it's good to see you, as always. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.